this exercise, we have the Turkish Get Up. The Turkish Get Up is a classic exercise. It's a full body motion exercise. We can work on stability through the shoulder, core activation as we flex up, and then lunging position and balance as we transition to an overhead in a standing posture. The key components to this, we need to make sure that we're able to create stiffness and rotation, that external rotation position in the shoulder, kind of pressing through and reaching that scapula towards the ceiling. If you haven't figured that out, go back to our partial Turkish Get Up video first. Make sure you've mastered that first before transitioning to the full Turkish Get Up, right? That only makes sense. Once you have that first part initiated, external rotation through the shoulder, press through the scapula, we're pressing up onto the hip. I'm then gonna extend the hips, lifting the glutes into a straight line, right? So we wanna have full hip extension in this position, a full lift of the hip, using a nice glute squeeze, a nice active anterior core. I'm going to transition that leg back behind me into a lunge, and I'm going to transition to an overhead position with my arm. So I'm reaching and pressing, kind of maintaining that external rotation and stiffness through the shoulder. I'm reaching and pressing through the pack as I go up into an overhead position in a tall lunge, or a tall kneel, tall lunge position, if you will. I can then stand up into the tall position. Again, the key here is to make sure the anterior core is active, my rib cage is staying down, and I'm really reaching through that shoulder as I transition to the overhead. On my way back down, everything's just happening in reverse. I'm dropping down into the bottom of the lunge. I'm reaching that leg down behind me as I go into the hip extended position, and then transitioning back towards the floor. Make sure you keep an active shoulder, active core through the movement, but this is a really nice, just a whole body transitional type exercise, working on maintaining stiffness through the shoulder, but exchanging force in multiple different position changes. So definitely a challenging exercise, but one that's quite useful and transitions into some more dynamic things. And again, with all of our exercises, we're looking to do things that are more challenging than what we'd experience in life, so that when life throws something at us, we're ready for it, right? So that's the idea. So this is definitely one of our more advanced exercises, but a good one that we think is pretty functional, and will put you through the ringer, so to speak, so that you're ready for anything else that life throws at you. All right. If this is a challenge, we can obviously break it up into its component parts. We can do the partial Turkish Get Up exercise that we already mentioned. We can do lunges, and then we can do squats or sit to stand, or just work lunges or reverse lunge type of positioning. So there are ways to break this up into its component parts as well. So don't feel like you have to do the Turkish Get Up, but if you have those other things mastered, this is a nice one to put it all together. All right. If you have any questions, make sure you let us know.